The Oxford writer C.S. Lewis, who died in 1963, remains one of the best-known authors in the English language. Like his close Oxford friend J.R.R. Tolkien, Lewis's novels have stood the test of time well. Big-budget movies of Lewis's Narnia novels have increased his reach still further. Yet Lewis was more than a novelist. He's increasingly regarded as one of the most important Christian writers of the 20th century, with a following in the 21st century that exceeds anything he knew during his lifetime. My name is Alister McGrath, and I'm going to tell you something about my new biography of C.S. Lewis, which will appear in 2013. That's the year in which we mark the 50th anniversary of Lewis's death back in 1963. And I'm recording this short introduction in Lewis's former Oxford home, the Kilns. We recorded this in the library, which is one of the finest rooms in the Kilns. And I'd like to thank the C.S. Lewis Foundation for permission to film in this historic building, which holds some very important Lewis memorabilia, such as the typewriter that Lewis's brother Warnie used in order to type up the family history. Lewis himself, of course, used a fountain pen. He didn't use a typewriter for his writing, partly because he had a deformed thumb, but partly because he believed that the noise of the typewriter would prevent a writer from properly appreciating the rhythm of the words they were using. It seemed right to produce a new biography to mark the 50th anniversary of Lewis's death, and to introduce Lewis to a new generation, which don't know him personally, but rather know him through his books or through the movies. There are many who've seen the Narnia movies who want to know more about Lewis the man. How did he come to write these books? Others want to know more about how Lewis discovered Christianity and came to write books like his hugely influential Mere Christianity. And I hope this book will do both those things. This biography is written by someone who never knew Lewis, but who discovered him through his writings. And really I'm writing for others who've discovered Lewis through those writings. If you've seen The Lion, the Witch and the Wardrobe or seen the movie, or if you've read Mere Christianity and want to know more about the man behind them, then this book is for you. So how did I myself develop my interest in Lewis? Well, I discovered Lewis a few years after I arrived as an undergraduate at Oxford University back in October 1971. And I still have many of the original editions of Lewis's books that I bought and read around then. Here's my copy of his Screwtape Letters, which I bought in Blackwell's bookshop in Oxford in May 1974. And this is my copy of his Reflections on the Psalms, which I bought in February 1975. And you can see how the paper is yellowing with age. Now, this new biography is called C.S. Lewis, A Life. And it's going to be published by Tyndale House in North America and by Hodder in the United Kingdom. And many will be saying, well, look, why a new biography? Aren't there enough out there already? That's a good question. But I think this book is different. For a start, it's the first to make proper use of Lewis's full correspondence, which was finally published by 2006. But perhaps more importantly, it makes use of some important new archive material. For example, here is a hitherto unseen typescript which records Lewis joining E Company of No. 4 Officer Training Battalion on the 7th of May 1917, before he was posted to northern France to serve in the trenches of the First World War. You won't have seen this ever before. Now, I began to plan this biography back in 2008, when my admiration for Lewis had increased significantly, and I wanted to write a study that would introduce Lewis that was up-to-date, rigorously grounded in historical research, but which also engaged the questions that Lewis's many readers and admirers felt were important. So, what qualifies me to write a biography of Lewis? Now, it seems to me that's a very fair question. And in part, it's because I'm an intellectual historian who's well used to dealing with the history of ideas. But there are other things. For a start, Lewis and I were both born in Belfast and spent our childhoods there. I even went to the same school as Lewis's mother. And secondly, both Lewis and I were first undergraduates and then dons at Oxford University. Lewis began as an undergraduate at University College, and you might like to look at this rarely seen photograph taken shortly after his arrival in April 1917. He went on to become a Fellow of Magdalen College in 1925, and this photograph of the college fellows dates from 1928. But thirdly, Lewis and I were both atheists in our younger days and discovered Christianity while we were at Oxford. And fourthly, based on that, both of us felt called to defend and commend Christianity against its critics. And I think these shared aspects of our lives help me to understand Lewis more than might otherwise have been the case. Now, although archive work was very important in researching this book, the most important part of my research was reading everything that Lewis wrote in chronological order. And that explains why this is such a long book. It's nearly 450 pages. That's 100 pages longer than earlier biographies by writers like A.N. Wilson or Alan Jacobs. But that's because the work is fully up to date. It draws on the Lewis scholarship of the last 2 decades, and it has a full bibliography of works by Lewis and about Lewis, along with 40 pages of notes explaining and defending every single decision I made. These we find throughout his writings, but especially in the Chronicles of Narnia. Narnia is important for Lewis and for many readers of this biography. And because so many people will be reading this book because they've seen the Narnia movies, we've devoted a special section in this biography to Narnia. This is unusual for a biography of Lewis. The Narnia Chronicles were written over a period of about 10 years. So if you have a year-by-year account of what Lewis did, it means that Narnia is spread out over a decade. I found a way of focusing Narnia into a major section so that there's continuity of narrative and analysis. And I think you'll find that helps you to get a sense of what Lewis thought he was doing far better than if we spread that analysis out over a period of 10 years. So what is there about this biography that is new? What does it add to our existing knowledge and understanding of Lewis? Well, this biography provides both new evidence about Lewis, particularly from archives, and also new interpretations of existing evidence about him. And the most important new suggestion that this biography makes is that the traditional understanding of Lewis's conversion is wrong. In other words, that Lewis did not come to believe in God when all the other biographies said he did in 1929. I suggest, for very good reasons I think, that this must be dated from 1930. The evidence is compelling. It's set out clearly in this biography, and I look forward to seeing what you make of it. If I'm right, a lot of traditional accounts and interpretations of Lewis's life and writing are just going to have to be rewritten. But I think that this gives you enough of an idea of the scope and range of this new biography. I hope you'll enjoy reading it, and I hope above all that you'll get more out of reading C.S. Lewis as a result. Thank you very much indeed for listening.